Hi everyone, welcome to Appliance Advisors. Today we're going to talk about the new Wolf 48-inch all-induction range. So really kind of been waiting for this one to come out for a little while here. So we're excited to have it kind of finally hit the showroom floors. And there's some really cool things to know about this. So one kind of right off the top is this one has 7 induction zones. So 7 separate induction areas where you can have really 7 different pots or pans going. Most likely, I'm not sure anyone's going to have that many going at a time, but you never know. It gives you the ability to do that. It ties in really Wolf's whole story with their ovens as well, with the Wolf Gourmet mode, with the auto-guided cooking on the LCD touchscreen, which is really a great technology. Walks you through cooking anything from casserole to a roast beef to chicken, really a ton of built-in features there on exactly what temperature to cook, where in the oven to put the food. So really introduces the induction with that kind of technology that they've already had and kind of really perfected over time. In the main oven, the dual verticross convection as well. A little bit of a deeper oven, the convection kind of just a little bit of a different style convection system where it's kind of more top to bottom to give you more even heat while you're cooking anything, again, from roast to baking cookies and things like that. So a lot of really cool things that they've introduced here with this induction. What are your thoughts on it?
Listen, I think it's great. Having a much smaller 30-inch version, kind of the new things that are cool is to have knobs introduced as an option, various handle styles, actually getting into some color options on the front. Certainly not such a wide array, but for Wolf to add in some color option doors and handle kits and bezel kits is kind of cool. There's one thing specifically about them, which someone will probably draw up into the comments as we're talking, but we'll save to the end to kind of talk about with them and kind of navigate around. But I think it's a great platform. The beautiful part of Wolf is obviously a legacy story of quality. I mean, they didn't rebuild their ovens. Their ovens were already amazing. And it's that newest technology in the oven. And now it's just going to bigger sizes. But they also weren't the first to launch 48-inch induction.
Absolutely. So there's a few options out there. There's a 48-inch Fisher Paykel, which is a great option at a pretty good price point as well there. Blue Star now has a 48-inch full-size induction range. Cool thing with Blue Star is you could have that in any of 1,000 different colors, different RALs. You can really choose any custom color you want with the Blue Star. And then for kind of a little bit of a different design too, Aga has a really nice 48-inch range as well, kind of different style, more kind of more of that flush look with your countertops and just a little bit of a different kind of look than what you're going to get with the pro style of a Fisher Paykel, a Wolf, or a Blue Star. Now talk a little bit, you kind of hinted a little bit on it. So one of the nice things with the Wolf is the 7 zones, is the ability to be able to boost on all 7 of those zones as well. But there's one part of the installation that you definitely need to know that helps you get to those features.
Yeah, it does require 100 amps, so it requires 250-amp circuits. I mean, in induction technology, we don't want to breeze past that because that's a unique for them to. They're the only ones today that require 100 amp. There's some reasonings behind that for them, but it's 100 amps. So you got to think about, do you have that power in your box if it's a renovation? If you're planning for it, you certainly need to plan for that power. But induction in general, even in a 30-inch unit, generally requires 50 amps. So it would make sense that as these things get bigger, how the rest of the brands do it is power sharing, if you will. So they would run on a 50 amp circuit, or maybe sometimes there's some that actually, if you technically read a call for 60, but it's not really fit. They run fine on a 50. But what that means is traditionally you are not a restaurant with all 7 zones, all the burners on high and everything kind of ripping. And you're at medium low back there. You're high on the front burner, so on and so forth. So that power sharing technology like Blue Star, like really all of them, have figured out a pretty good way to do that and still deliver induction performance. Maybe slightly less time for sure than if you were just doing a singular burner. Wolf's concept is just a little bit more of, hey, we have the ability to be full on across the unit and not power share quite as much. I think that's where they were trying to go with that store.
Absolutely. And certainly in a remodel or, just a replacement, it can certainly sometimes be difficult. And really when you're replacing any sort of gas to induction, but even induction to induction, or if you're just replacing a 48-inch range, that's where I think you'll have some of these difficulties for sure, trying to look at 2 separate 50 amp dedicated circuits. But when you're doing maybe a full remodel, a new construction, those should be things that, depending on your home and age of your home and certainly your panel, that's something you definitely want to be aware
But
of.
when you're thinking of 48-inch ranges in the induction class, let me kind of break down who I think the customer is and isn't for each range. I think one thing that is important that I always point out is look at the cleanability of the top or how they deal with the top, because now that smooth glass, while easy to clean, you might see things a bit more. The Wolf does a good job with a little textured top that kind of distracts the eye from the everyday dust. Other brands are flat black glass where you kind of pick up that dust potentially. If you're someone that cleans all the time, may not bother you, but it may be something that does. Someone like a Blue Star has an absolutely unique, kind of a unique top where it's more like a, what do they even call that top?
So it's more kind of just like
Quartz or a zinc or
exactly.
it's
And
a
it's like,
matte. It's
yeah,
a
it's a
matte. You'd
matte
almost
finish
walk up
on
and
it.
feel like it's almost like a plastic material. It's not. It cleans very, very well. You don't see a lot of dirt. You can
Almost
Windex
looks like
it.
a covering kind of on top of it, but it actually,
So cleanability is one consideration, but now just stylistically, let's talk who's who. Fisher Paykel, great range. You can go within their line. They have a big breadth of refrigeration, a big breadth of other products. So great, easy to use screen, kind of a sleeper, I think, for you should really take a look at that. It has a lot of great technology. And you can go varying ways depending on your refrigeration sizes. Counter depth paneled, columns, built-in, like a Sub-Zero, a lot of options there. Then you get into Aga, certainly unique. They have a couple. They have a Mercury in the classic line. Mercury is definitely a more modern look, very modern actually. And then you have more the classic Aga old world look. Very good price points, reasonable, and kind of a definitely a statement piece, and have some cool colors and finishes there. Then you get into Blue Star. Well, the world's your oyster for colors and mixed metal finishes, kind of that unique top, power sharing. So great oven story, easy to use interface. So they're kind of a very strong competitor in there. And then you have the classic Wolf. So finally, that Wolf brand and quality story that we've trusted for a long time, now adding some colors and interest. So really, if you're that person that's diehard Wolf or really always wanted that Wolf, now you finally can access it in a 48-inch induction.
absolutely.
And don't forget to follow us on social media for appliance tips and updates from Yale Appliance.
Your feedback is what shapes our series. Like what you saw? Give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you.
Stay informed and inspired on all your appliance needs. This is Appliance Advisors signing off.